listening to the Major Pod Network, the only place where your favorite toy store, card shop, arcade, theme park, and arena are all on the same block. Scratch that major itch.
This is Tony Chimmel, and I'd like to introduce the hosts of the Game Marks podcast, George Feis and Johnny Clash.
Welcome to the Game Marks podcast presented by the Major Pod Network. I'm the man they call Johnny Clash.
And I am Mr. Anything is Feasible, George Feis, and today we are playing Wrestling Revolution 2D. How is this game going to hold up? Is it going to get a play it forever? Woo! Or a future endeavor?
You're fired!
We're also continuing our discussion on the new WWE 2K22 game, including patches, glitches, and what seems to be an overall good experience. Kind of excited.
And don't forget to subscribe and leave 5-star review for this podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and follow us on all forms of social media at GameMarksPod, and check out the exclusive content we're creating for our Patreon at patreon.com/GameMarksPod. Georgie, boy, big week in games, big week in wrestling in general. Let's start it off here with I guess the sad part. We lost one of our favorites, I think one of the world's favorites in the wrestling business, Scott Hall, Razor Ramon. It was not a good, 48 hours for the wrestling world. Everyone's still kind of feeling the shockwave here, but I figured I would open up the conversation on today's episode with our favorite Scott Hall or Razor Ramon in video games. Like, what do you remember? I mean, I could personally say I constantly was playing as him in WrestleMania, the arcade game as Razor, but also like Nitro and Thunder, watching those FMVs on the roster page. It was just too sweet.
Oh, yeah. I mean, for me, it's definitely Royal Rumble for Sega and for SNES. Just stopping on his icon, his character select screen, and just letting that 8-bit version of Bad Boy roll
also
through.
A great Razor's Edge animation in that game.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason that's up there with one of my favorite games, not only for the nostalgia purposes and what it did for, obviously having its place in getting us to where we are today, but also just being an overall good game. And then second, for me, iconically, I played him all the time. He was my number 2 most played character in WCW NWO Revenge.
Yeah. That's the one I was going to bring up.
I would say I had a buddy all the time who was obsessed with Kevin Nash. And obviously, if one of your good friends who you play a wrestling game with is going to be playing Kevin Nash, you got to be the counterpart to that. And I mean, who better than the bad guy?
Not only that, but then once No Mercy came out, I feel like everyone created him because all the parts were pretty much there. I mean, we did it for GMP 64.
There's two versions of his finish in No Mercy.
The entrance, everything. It's great.
Yeah.
But what an impact on the wrestling world. You could see it. You could hear it from, people we know, Brian, Matt, everyone. It just resonated throughout the whole wrestling world, and he's very much going to be missed. I mean, I was able to meet him at, I believe it was SummerSlam at the Barclays Center briefly, very, very briefly, but what a guy. What a character. What a superstar.
And what an insanely amazing redemption story he had. Just knowing everything that he had gone through in his life to get to where he was, just truly inspiring to see that, like, even through like the darkest times, like those. I mean, I don't want to be the 900th person to quote his Hall of Fame speech, but
I knew it was coming.
He's living proof that bad times don't last, but bad guys do. And honestly, I mean, what an awesome speech that was.
It's kind of like one of those things like Warrior, how the speech kind of resonated to like real life shortly after. But I mean, obviously not the next day, but still.
No, but
just what a legacy.
It's unbelievable what an impact he had.
But let's pivot now. Let's go back to last week's episode, WWE 2K20, where
No, I don't want to.
they did Scott Hall pretty dirty with that character model, but also the rest of the roster was pretty bad. But playing that game again, being able to play 2K22 the rest of the week preceding it, including today, it just made 2K22 that much better playing 2K20 last week.
I cannot tell you how excited I was because I've had this game installed on my computer for 2 years.
days.
Yeah, it's 2 years, 3 years. It's just I am over the fucking moon that I finally get to uninstall this game. Because like I said last week, it's just one of those games where you're like, you know what? I'm going to go in and I'm going to play like 1 or 2 matches. And then you're reminded of what a dumpster fire that game was, and now I get to uninstall it. And now when I want to play those kinds of games, well, guess what? I can go and do that, and I can play 2K20.
2K22, you mean? But
2K22.
Let's get into that a little bit because there's still some things they're working out in the game. You know, there's still some glitches, still some bugs. It's not necessarily a bug, but I played an 8-man ladder match because I knew it would just be complete chaos, and that after 35 minutes of gameplay, no one going for the ladder, because even if 4 roll out, there's still 4 in the ring. No one's climbing for the ladder. I think I got the little dot in the thing once, and it had like 2 notches, and that was it. So after, it was like 35 minutes. I just quit, and what did I do? I did a last man standing match. You know, I'm trying out the roster because I don't know a lot of the NXT guys, as you heard last week. So I say Swerve. I don't know his NXT name. It's Swerve Strickland. I don't know his NXT name. I forget already.
Isaiah Swerve Scott.
Yes. So good. I mean, just from seeing his career on the Indies, so I was able to pick him and know who he was, and I did him and AJ, and it was a fun match. I mean, he was just picking the weapons, fighting around the arena and the crowd. The matches are a lot quicker in this game. You get your special quick. You could just go in and out, play him. It's a breeze.
Can we talk about something that happened really quick, just to pivot? Did you watch his match against Tony Nese?
Of course.
Did you see that flip? Obviously, like the clip that's been circulating all over the social media.
He's incredible.
Very few things after being a wrestling fan for as many years and just how matches go nowadays. Very few things have I seen where I just go, how the hell? Where my brain doesn't comprehend the athleticism that has to go into doing something like that and the coordination. And
That's
it broke me.
We can't do that.
I did, my brain could not wrap, how all of those pieces, all of those stars aligned so perfectly that he was able to do something like that. I was like, I'm out of breath just watching him do that. It's insane.
Yeah, not for me.
No, I was expecting that bump in that ring exit in FWF Live 3.
But there have been more wrestlers found in the My Rise mode that are not playable that have been uploaded to the community creations, which I think is pretty cool that you could do, even if it is a little hack ski workaround. But long hair Triple H is in there. The DX music is in there somewhere. Ooh. Now, I just created my character. I'm taking it slow because you know how I am with movesets. That's the last thing I'm going to do. I kind of got the character down. I got to do the attire number 2. It's definitely more jacked than I ever will be. But the entrance was just weird because it's just picking parts from wrestlers that are there. And I always thought it was just it takes a really long time to watch the preview and you hear the music 900 times.
Yeah.
And I don't like the music. I was like, maybe I'll do Jeff Hardy's No More Words. Then I was like, I'll just do Bring Me the Horizon because it's close to what I like.
And that's also just a awesome song.
One of their few from now. But it just played 900 times where I'm like, okay, got to change this song now. I went into the moveset creator and I was just like, oh, this is just too much for me to handle right now. Especially we were working on GMP 64 season 2.
There's a lot
characters.
Of movesets in our future.
Yeah,
man.
so my brain was not comprehending what my front grapple was going to be, so I just left it. So I'll have my character uploaded shortly, but not yet.
Yeah, I'm so I'm so torn with how to approach this game, because like all I've been doing is just like dropping in and doing a rumble or an elimination chamber.
That's the fun part.
Oh yeah, but like because we said that we were going to do this whole, recording sessions where you go through the showcase mode, and it's just like, all right, I gotta like block off time and be like, all right, if you're gonna sit down and you're gonna play this game, you might as well turn on the camera and just start the showcase mode. Like,
right. That's why I haven't started any mode yet.
That's the same. I just like, I want to get into it, but also like, I know that once I started, I'm gonna want to sit for a couple hours and like maybe do 3 video sessions in 1 play session and be like, all right, let's see how far we can get.
Yeah, why not? I mean, the game has been so much fun. You know what I did last week? I was so jealous that I just pre-ordered the base version. I know you got the NWO. I didn't want to spend the money, so I didn't get the game early. And everyone's posting all these cool creator wrestlers, their gameplay. Everyone's loving the game, and I'm sitting here like a sad boy. I popped Retromania back in, and I had so much fun. Coming from day one, I haven't played the game much since we first got it. So I played maybe here and there, but I actually put time into like the story mode with Johnny Retro, and I put like just some time in some exhibition matches. It was a lot of fun. The changes they made, even like the flashing of the character when like you're about to hit a move and whatnot, like everything is just, it's there. I hope they come out with the second part of the story mode soon, because I'm like itching to play more of that. But I mean, 2K22 is taking the front seat here.
I got to tell you, I'm surprised that it hadn't come out sooner, just to kind of work off the hype that they had with everything, like with the initial release. I feel like my biggest fear for this game is just like that it gets forgotten about, because like there's so much potential, and like we were just, I mean, our little major pod, we were just talking our little major pod chat. We were just talking to Kinnick about it.
Kayfabe.
But we're all on the network. They know that we talk.
No, I think the game could stand alone, but I could definitely see people getting bored without that story mode. And I hope it comes soon. And I hope the DLC comes soon. We saw Chris Bay's sprites, and they look awesome. I mean, he's another incredible wrestler that I can't wait to play as in the game, because Johnny Retro is so much fun to play as, and Chris Bay is like just going to be as much fun. So,
oh, absolutely,
yeah. But good stuff coming. Unfortunately, we have to cut off the good stuff because it might be time to do a little deep dive into this week's game.
What are you talking about? Why are we cutting off the good? We're going to dive into more good stuff, John, because we are putting on our nostalgia goggles. We are going all the way back to 2012, and we are taking the plunge into this week's game. It's time for Wrestling Revolution 2D, baby. Johnny, you not excited for this, man?
No, because I played it.
All right. Well, Wrestling Revolution 2D, released July 4th, 2012, published by M. Dickey, developed by M. Dickey, and this is a mobile game, a phone game, ripped to Steam. That's they added controller support, and
originally touchscreen support, which sometimes, and in this case might be applicable, does not translate well to the screen in a controller, but we kind of made it work.
We somehow, in like a weird way, I think the thing that threw me off, just getting this right out of the way, is that there's really no way to know what the setup is for the controller layout. So like you can map a controller, but it's not like you can be like, all right, like using 2K22 as an example, you have your controllers on the bottom, you move one up, you move the second one up, move the third player up, and like you pick your spot. This is just like you set up a match, and whatever's connected, keyboard, mouse, however many controllers, if something is Bluetooth to your computer, that is all connecting and has control over something in this game.
It was a pretty crazy experience. We're going to get into the gameplay in a little bit, but let's talk about what else came out in 2012, which seems like it was yesterday, but that is 10 years ago, and that makes me feel very old. WWE 13 WWE Rumblers, which is the game with the little figures for the iPad. WWE WrestleFest, this is the WWE version for the iPad, which is in our archives. Fire Pro Wrestling for the Xbox 360, also in our archives. And my favorite, Fire Pro Wrestling in Mobage, which is an online social media type gaming platform where Fire Pro Wrestling hosted their game that year, which I don't know how we're ever going to play that, but we'll find a way.
I thought you were a big fan of the Wonder Swan.
Mobage. Oh, the Wonder Swan? Hell yeah. I would get
second
one of those.
favorite console.
Let's do a little dive into what this game actually is. Let's read the description here. So the original 2D wrestling sim brings the revolution to your desktop, where it now includes both sides of the business in one epic universe. Create your own star and embark on a career inside the ring, or take responsibility for an entire promotion if you think you can do a better job. What wording? Either way, you'll have to make the right moves to come out on top in a massive universe of 350 characters, which George will be reading later, that evolves before your eyes every week. Fully unlocked as standard, you can even save your changes to each roster to make the world your own, or simply blow off steam in exhibition matches of your own creation, where the unique animation system allows anything to happen at any moment. And that is pretty well put, because
surprisingly accurate. Yeah. So slightly chaotic is a word that comes to mind.
There is a training mode, which we probably should have done, but it was also kind of confusing. But your options are training, exhibition, or career. Now, when you scroll through the exhibition matches, it's one-on-one, but then you get just like random steel cage, a furniture match, a battle royal, which is over the top. I'm sorry, the furniture match is when you get put through, like, say, a chair or a table, you're out. But it's so confusing, and it's pure chaos. More chaos than that Money in the Bank I was talking about earlier in the new 2K22. It is just an endless stream of just random upon random matches. There's... I don't even know. I don't even know.
I think the thing that... I don't know if this was actually what was happening, or if it was something that was happening with the controls, but it just seemed like every time you scrolled through a match, it was... like the match type was... I don't even know how to... not different,
unique.
But like it just looked like it was like one-on-one. One-on-one with a guest referee. One-on-one, one-on-one, one-on-one. Six-man tag.
Yeah.
Furniture.
Eight-man tag.
I was like, wait, why did it just cycle through one-on-one 4 times? Did we miss something? And then we look back and it was like, no, that's how it's just happening right now.
And that's the same as when we were going through the training mode. All of the wrestlers kept changing, and we were like, wait a minute, go back. Oh, no, he's gone. Go back. Okay,
it's a different
he's gone.
person now.
And you could watch that playthrough on our YouTube and see the chaos for yourself. But this game was originally released for the iOS and the Android, and the career mode was a little bit different to start. It actually had like curated shows that you'd play through, and your character would have promos that they would read and go through, rather than the more, I guess, open world, anything can happen when it came to Steam. So that was a little bit different. So it wasn't as personalized back then. I mean, it was more personalized when it came to the iOS and Android.
There's so many things that we have to talk about with this game, and we have like the format that we follow, but I'm like so ready to just jump into the matches. But like actually what they look like and the chaos that you made happen in the furniture match.
All right, so why don't we go through some of the roster first? I have some names here, but not all of them. Am
I reading this? Do you want me to read through them?
You can. You could tap if you want, and I could take some. But I only put a few. I put like the hot shots in here. I didn't put all 360 because that's just insane.
Okay,
so if you want to read them.
All right, yeah. So you have Lance Monaco, who is Vince McMahon. You've got...
It's my favorite Italian restaurant. Hey, let's go to Lance Monaco's.
You have Redneck Rothstein, which is Stone Cold Steve Austin. What? Ronin Raw, who's Seth Rollins. Les Miserables, which is The Miz. Ripper Ace / Hard Hammer, who's Triple H. Gutter Snipe, who is Road Dogg, don't spit out your water.
Almost did.
Jimmy Sierra, who is John Cena, Night Shift, who is the Undertaker, which I honestly think that is the best PG name. Like, that's like your uncle who dresses up as the Undertaker for your birthday party. Is like, yeah, I'm Night Shift.
It's like the Undertaker's TNA name.
Yes. Amber Lance, who's John Moxley, which is another good one. Rory Awesome, who is Randy Orton. Mike Shawshot, who is Shawn Michaels. Stunner Stu, which you would think would be Stone Cold, but it's actually Billy Gunn. Slam Dunk, who is CM Punk. Matt Showman, who is Randy Savage. Trojan Force is Roman Reigns. Slow Mo / Huge Ass is the Big Show.
Oh, this is my favorite one. Petrol
is Diesel. Helix is X-Pac. Apple Pie is Jake Hager. Jake Hager. Geek Chick is AJ. What about?
Geek Chic.
Geek Chic is AJ Lee. Mr. Benjamins is Ted DiBiase. Papercut is IRS. General Genocide is Sergeant Slaughter. Mustard Gas is Iron Sheik. Jigsaw Jeremy is Jim Duggan. Ralph Zipper is Dolph Ziggler. And that's where I'm going to tag off to you, John.
All right. High Note is Honky Tonk Man. Becky Lane is Mickey James. Chief Breaker is the Big Boss Man. Paul Street, or Wall Street, is JBL. Splinter is Mankind. Cable is Kane. Tom Stone, or Paul Berry, is Paul Bear. Sucka G is Booker T. Mismatch is Miss Elizabeth. Sean Monaco is Shane McMahon. That's the other branch. Sean Monaco's. It's like Lance Monaco's, but they don't got the Monaco good.
Come to our southern location. Sean Monaco.
Rusty Rose is Dusty Rhodes. This is a good one. Bobby Q is Jim Ross.
I love it.
Majesty is Jerry the King Lawler. Malcolm Soul is Michael Cole. And Errol Hathaway is Earl Hebner. So that's only a part of the roster. You could just imagine what the rest of these names are as you scroll through. It's just, these are hilarious.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot that's happening. There's a Brock Lesnar.
Very creative.
Yeah, but you know, it's kind of what we expected after playing the sequel to this game. Which is Wrestling Revolution 3D. But a lot of creativity both in the match types as well as the names and the likeness, because there are some wrestlers that look very similar to their real world counterpart, and there are others who are caricatures, we'll say, where they're like the meme version. Like there's one who looks like he's supposed to be Snitsky, but he has like the horseshoe hair, and it's all over the place.
So maybe it's actually Luther Reigns. Remember that guy?
Yeah, well, he was in movies. I think that's what he does now.
Things. Crazy. What a weird time for like SmackDown. Anyway, we digress. So you wanted to talk about the art style in here and the artwork. Let's talk about the artwork first. The Wrestling Revolution logo, that nice grungy font with the fist flying out, and sometimes there's dollar signs in that fist. We have grown to know it and recognize it as the Wrestling Revolution logo. The Wrestling Empire logo is not far off color-wise. It's a little different, but you know it's an M. Dickey game.
It's the upgraded version of this.
Yeah, but okay, the art style. Since this is the 2D version, I don't want to say I liked it better than the 3D version, but I think not having that dimension and not having so much put into it like the 3D version, it read better, and I was able to like comprehend what's happening on the screen better than that other camera on the 3D version. I don't know if that makes sense if I'm saying that.
No, properly. I am 100% there with you. It has a more vintage style feel to it,
like Fire Pro-y.
No, I was even thinking more along the lines of like Rumble or or like Raw or Steel Cage, like where it's that you can move up and down and left and right, but it's all like flat sprites. The animations, very smooth in terms of the moves themselves. Everything looks like it hurts, which is a good thing because
It's like you die in half the stuff.
Well, yeah, but like the actual wrestling moves, like there was times where you get hit with a scoop slam or with a suplex or someone hits a drop kick. Those look real, and because of like the physics that are in this game, they actually look pretty good. On the flip side, if you do a little ground and pound where you're just raining down punches and you do it too many times in a row, the person that you're raining down punches on will actually puke, and the puke shows up in the ring, and that's something that I'm not used to seeing in wrestling games, which was different, but at the same time, kind of interesting to see because I had never seen it in a wrestling game.
There's a lot of weird stuff like that in this game. I think there was a money bag in one match that like bursted open. There was a stick of dynamite we picked up that you code breakered me onto the dynamite and we all exploded, and 2 guys in the match didn't get up till the end of the match for 14 minutes later.
And it left a nice mark in the ring too.
Yeah.
Like
I was going to say that I honestly don't remember my train of thought because I'm looking here and I started reading this promo. It says,
but I told you to suit up.
Yeah, not swimsuit up. If you want to beat my bro, you have to dress the part. So this is one of the iOS pieces, it seems like. But the weapons, they're plentiful and they keep coming. And there's run-ins as well, which throws a whole bunch of more confusion into the mix because you don't know what this person's doing in the ring.
I cannot tell you how much I enjoyed the furniture match. Just because...
Glad you enjoyed it.
There was one point that you made a gigantic tower of furniture and it caused the end of like 4 people's time in the match. It literally was just like John just ruined this match for like all of the NPCs.
So you could take all of the anything, the chair, the ladder, the table, even if they're broken and just in the ring they stay there, you could just keep stacking. And I think there was one point you took the announcer's table and you just like popped it back open and it was
I put it back together.
Yeah. You took out your Bob Vila hammer and you put it back together and we stacked it back up again. But you could stand on top of that. If someone dives on top of you, you're pretty much both gone.
Swoggle told me that I'm Al Borland. So
Okay. I could see it. It's
I don't even know what the hell that means.
I don't know. This game also has a pretty big mod community. You can see like some NXT versions, some New Japan versions. People get pretty creative here within the source code, and they create some nice stuff. This game is obviously a blatant parody and ripoff of some wrestlers, but it does have some substance on its own. So it's kind of cool to see people take, say, like Jeff Jarrett or like the WrestleMania logo and actually make like an authentic game out of it, like we see with a lot of the No Mercy mods. I think the bones are here.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a mobile game ported to Steam. I think if it was the other way around, it would have been a little bit more playable on the PC. But then you get Wrestling Revolution 3D, which we've played, and it's in our archives. And if you want to hear about that, go check out what we had to say about a year ago.
Yeah, and then there's also, there's this game, there's Wrestling Revolution 3D, which John just mentioned that we already played, but we've already alluded to the fact that there is a sequel to Wrestling Revolution 3D, which is the next one, as well as a whole other plethora of wrestling games from MDiggy that we have to play. But the next one in this series is Wrestling Empire, so be on the lookout because that's coming in the near future.
So I actually did reach out to M. Dickey when we played 3D. Did we play
I remember
3D?
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
3D was the one we played first, and he was mad that we were playing that one like a month shy of Empire's release.
Right. Which I had to kind of explain, like, hey, we do like the nostalgia of games. It's not games that come out now. Like, we have to put on the goggles, I'll send you some goggles if you want, buddy. He was very nice. He kind of declined and said, like, hey, I'm working on the release of Empire. It's a lot of work. It's stressful. I'm burnt out. Like, hit me back up in like a year or 6 months, and we'll see where we're at. So I did not do that yet, but I do plan on contacting M. Dickey again when we cover Wrestling Empire in the future, and maybe just getting even if it's a quick rapid fire questions or he answers something written and we could read them out. I'd love to hear his insight because he's a one-man show and he's very creative, as you could see from even just the wrestler names, and there a lot goes into these games. And while they not be the Sims that we're used to, or like the 2K games or whatever, there's something still pretty unique about them, and I guess a certain charm.
And we'll finally be able to answer the question: can M. Dickey do a kickflip? Because I know everyone's been dying to know that answer.
And our community, our Game Marks community, they're big fans of the M. Dickey games.
Oh yeah,
and I'm sure there would actually be a lot of questions they would like answered, but hopefully we could cross that bridge when we get to it.
Did you want to talk about the physics, like the lift mechanic of the weapons? Because I feel like that was something.
Jazz hands.
Well, because there's the lift mechanic to lift your opponent, and then there's the lift mechanic to lift a weapon. And depending on how the weapon is, I don't know if a chair is open and you pick it up, you can swing the chair. Or if the chair is closed and you pick it up, you can swing it like a weapon. If the chair is open, or if you grab like the office chair, it's a platform for you to jump off of or do moves onto, which is what allowed John to then stack things 12 feet tall.
But you kind of walk with them like jazz hands and slow, like you're tiptoeing like, oh, I got this chair. What should I do with it? I don't know. It's kind of weird, but it kind of just goes with the whole territory of this game and the animations and everything. Everything fits together the way it should.
Yeah, I mean, there was nothing that we saw in this game that either one of us were just like, well, that shouldn't be in here. That's weird.
Right.
Like everything you saw in the game, you were kind of like, yeah, I'd expect that from this game. This makes sense to be in here. There was nothing completely out of left field, and maybe some of that is from our experience having played 3D, but I also think that a large part of that is also probably done through the way that the game is designed, where things are done intentionally. And, there is that little aspect, that little probability of that chaos that can happen where, maybe when programming the game, M. Dickey thinks that there's going to be like 10 people who make a tower of furniture or whatever.
Why not?
Maybe he's just like, you know what? I'm going to put this in there and leave the ability in here to do it. And maybe someone does it. Maybe someone doesn't do it. But that's part of the fun of these games.
Also, we mentioned in the intro kind of the game itself that you could be on both sides of the business here, which is the booker or the wrestler. And I think that's something that people were looking for in a GM mode, and he was trying to give it to them. And that carried over all the way up to Wrestling Empire, where the whole booking agent part of it, whatever, I don't know the exact title, that's like the biggest part of the game, not the wrestling itself. You can go years and years. Wrestlers die, and I think George Feis died in one of our Patreon members' feds already after like 3 years of service, so I'm sorry.
I would say either that happened or
I think Swoggle died, yeah.
No, I was going to say, I don't think I died. I think...
Oh, you died.
No, I think I broke my leg and you fired me. And someone else died. Yeah, I think we were a tag team, but I remember the screenshot where it was like, because everything is like on a news head. So it was like a picture of you with the title, and it said something like, Clash says George Feis is bad for his brand.
Oh, it's like when you don't participate in FWF 3 and you go to Disneyland instead?
Did you know?
The one time I'll allow you to get out.
Yeah.
Did you know M. Dickey went on to create Wrestling Revolution 3D and Wrestling Empire, and his library includes over 20 years of work.
Did you know Wrestling Revolution 2D is still downloadable for Google Play if you purchased the game back in 2012?
Did you know Wrestling Revolution 2D is still available in the Steam store for only $4.99? Not a bad price for a wrestling game.
Not a bad price for a wrestling game.
That's what I like about Steam. There's a lot of games that are just a couple dollars and you could have fun. There's Toilet Bowl Simulator. There's Lawnmower Simulator. There's
PC Building Simulator.
Yeah, all of the above. You could just get it. But all right. This game, that furniture match we keep talking about stressed us out a bit. My back's hurt from putting 12 chairs on top of each other with a table. I think it's time for some...
And my back sore from being put through them.
I think it's time for some R&R. Some ratings and reviews. I have here the Steam reviews, and out of 36, the overall reviews are positive. A lot of stuff I saw in here said, like, this game rules, WWE sucks, and I'm not going to read those because that's just dumb. But this first one here, another positive review, said, this game is the reason I've had the launcher for Desura, a company that went out of business in 2013, on my computer for 8 years. It was the only way I could play this game on PC. I've put hundreds of hours into it. It's so good. And it's true. His little thing next to it, time played, it was hundreds of hours. Just kidding. I have no idea what it was. The next one. Finally, after being teased on Steam Store for too long, we could finally play this game on PC. I hate playing games on cell phone. Good game. Get crazy sometimes, but it's the shtick of the game. Okay? Agreed. It is kind of their thing. And this last one says, I remember having a addiction to this game in 5th grade. I'd play it all the time during class. My teacher had to call my dad.
Oh, damn.
Now, this is pretty unique here. The reviews are from 2021. This game came out in 2012. So this game is still kind of fresh in the Steam store after being a mobile game for so long.
So what happened was when we first went around to play Wrestling Revolution 3D, I obviously, in the research trying to, create the list for like all of our games that we have to play, saw that this existed. And then it was on Steam for a while. But it was listed on Steam. There were some reviews, and then it was taken off. So it looked like when, at some point, maybe 2012, the game was put on Steam. Then once development began for Wrestling Revolution 3D, he took it off. And then at some point, M. Dickey just decided to upload the whole catalog. Everything that he seems to be making that's wrestling related, or maybe his better, more well-received games are now completely up there, which is cool. It's good to see. It gives us more stuff to have to work through and play now.
And I got to say, I'm looking at my phone right now. This game does still exist in the iOS store, and I believe the Google store as well. So
Hey.
It did get pulled for a while, but it's back. And the latest version history was 1 year ago with higher resolution display for newer iOS. The MP3 music has been deprecated and fewer on-screen ads. So he was still updating this up until last year. And, up until Wrestling Empire. So you might even be working on it still now. It's still a very popular game. People are still playing it. I could see why they would prefer this to the 3D version.
Yeah, I think having both of these gives kind of, I don't want to say the best of both worlds, but it gives people who are interested in this series who may lean towards one way or the other in terms of how they want to play the game, an option. So now you can experience it however you like to play your games. If you're more of a 3D where you want like a rotating camera and a little bit more chaos, then you got Wrestling Revolution 3D. If you want a fixed camera where it plays more like a retro game, then you've got 2D. And if you want something that's more or less a complete overhaul that mixes both in a prettier, more presentable package than maybe Empire. Wrestling Empire is the way to go. But, we've talked about what everyone else has to say. We've talked about the Steam reviews. I interrupted you for the Did You Know? But now I'm going to ask you a question.
It's time to rate the game.
Son of a bitch.
The game!
George Feis, Wrestling Revolution 2D. Will you play it forever?
Woo!
Or future endeavor?
You're fired!
I'm going to surprise myself with this one. I had more fun playing this game than I did playing Wrestling Revolution 3D. And I think it's because of the fact that it is a little bit more refined. I don't know if that's the right word, but it just seems a little less chaotic than Wrestling Revolution 3D. Maybe that's because we did everything in our power to make Wrestling Revolution 3D as chaotic as possible. But hey, that's coming up on a episode of Future Endeavored, so we're going to be reliving that soon. Maybe that'll be another Raw experience. We'll play that one together. But yeah, I'm gonna. It's on the line, but I think I'm playing it forever.
Woo!
That's just crazy. That's just crazy. You're crazy.
And now I turn it to you, Johnny Clash. Will you play it forever or future endeavor?
I'm future endeavoring this one.
You're fired!
There's certain things in here that just boggled my mind. Where like 3D also boggled my mind, but in like a good way. Like I like the way like you could chain the moves together, and it was a little more fluid the way you moved and walked and could just pull moves out and reversals and such. This game didn't have that, and I didn't even really feel like the button meshy part towards it to save me. Maybe if I was more into like the booking side of these games, I would be into it, but I'm just not. So future endeavor.
All right, we're split. It's been a while since we've been split.
It has been a while.
But with that said, John, it is now time for the newest and what is rapidly becoming one of my favorite segments of the show. It is now time for Soft Lock.
Final round. Fight!
All right, so Soft Lock is a debate segment where one of the mega marks from our Patreon, when you subscribe at patreon.com/GameMarksPod, submits a topic, and John and I will sit here and we'll debate this topic about video games, and we'll talk about it for, 5 to 10 minutes and give our thoughts, and then we like to throw it over to you guys and see what you guys think. But this week, the question comes from Megamark Brett Van, and his topic is, what are your thoughts on the lack of new IPs? Every company seems to be turning to their tried and true for sequels and reboots. You want me to kick us off, or do you want to kick us off?
I kicked us off last week. You're up.
All right. I think there should be a rule. An unspoken rule, not a hard set like this is like law that every game developer should follow. But I think very similarly to how on Major Wrestling Figure Podcast, they talked about how there's that 30-year window where the toys that you had as a kid, 30 years later, you want to relive that nostalgic kick that you had, so games get remastered. I don't think it needs to be 30 years, but I think that there should be a window where maybe it's a console generation, maybe it's 15, 20 years. I don't know what the hard stat is, but I think that there is a market to that. Crash Bandicoot remastered, Spyro remastered,
Ninja Turtles.
Ninja Turtles, the Turtles in Time remake. All of these big games are having second runs, really, just with now parents getting able to sit down with their kids and be like, hey, this is the kind of games that I play through, and they're games that are now able to kind of hold the attention of these kids, because not every kid is gonna, if your kid's playing Fortnite and it's used to the Fortnite graphics, it's not going to want to suddenly go back and be like, show me this 1982 8-bit game that you played. That not every kid. Some kids will love it. Not every kid.
I enjoyed Carnival for Coleco when I was younger.
I used to play River Raid, I think it was it, on the Atari with my sister and my cousin. And that was, that there's a market there. On the flip side, it's a business. It's a business, and it's got to make money.
Okay.
Easy cash grabs.
I get what he's asking here, though, because a lot of games, like look at Call of Duty, they're re-releasing Modern Warfare 2 is coming.
Well, because all the new ones suck.
Right. All the new ones suck, and they could just re-release their classics that aren't that old that could still hold up, because if you think about games like that, nothing has changed. Now,
No.
unfortunately for, like, say, a wrestling game, so much has changed. You can't release a WWF game right now. There's all the personal IPs. Like can you get Lex Luger right now? Who knows? Who knows who owns that name? Or even, say, a WCW game. It's going to be impossible because they're all over the place everywhere. So those games are not going to be re-released. Sports games also, it's very hard. We talked about that kind of with NHL, how... Yep. I don't know. Is Mario Lemieux going to sign off to be in an NHL whatever remaster? Probably not. Or it's going to cost them a lot. I think
that's the main thing, is that he'll probably be like, yeah, sure, let's do it. I want an exorbitant amount of money to do it, though.
Right, and then think about the other 30 NHL teams and all their players, and you have to do like number 30, number 66, and carry on that way, and that's just lame. But I think companies do need to be more unique. I mean, look at games like Death Stranding. Look at games like Ghost of Tsushima, where they're mind-blowing games, and you're not getting them too often because there are all these re-releases out, where I think, like, if we just get these bangers and they just keep coming, that would be great. But then you get Cyberpunk, and then you say, okay, why don't I just go play Call of Duty again? And it's just a big, endless... I don't know if I'm even making sense. Just a big
you're making good points.
Just a big circle of crap that keeps happening, forcing other crap to happen.
Because it's that same debate of, like, a company will try something new, and then the first thing that happens when a company releases the game is, well, it's not like the last one that you did.
Yeah.
And it's just like, but we're trying to do something new.
Like,
so it's not the same game.
Like, I think... what's it called? The Last of Us 2 was hyped for only a little bit, but not as hyped as the first game. Whereas if the same company, what is it, Naughty Dog?
Yeah.
If they came out with a similar game but different, it could have gotten even more exposure. I don't know. I could be completely wrong about that.
Well, so this was the other thing that I wanted to bring up. Talking about original IPs is one thing, but what about games that are overly similar to other games? So, Assassin's Creed, you've played them.
Mm-hmm. A few.
Okay. Okay. So, but you understand the concept. It's a stealth. There's like parkour elements, assassinations.
They're fun
things
for
like that.
a week.
But do you know what other game that has been around longer and maybe not as popular is pretty much the exact same game?
Splinter Cell?
Prince of Persia.
Yes.
It's the same it's a little
It's
more
almost even like the same era.
Yeah, I mean, for some of the titles, yeah, but it's the same. It's a little more platformy, Prince of Persia, but it's like parkour and climbing and scaling buildings and assassinations and stuff like that.
Jet Set Radio Future.
Jet Set Radio Future. Wow.
What was that other one? Mirror's Edge.
Oh, see, Mirror's Edge, completely unique.
Yeah.
Very unique. It had all of the same kind of elements that you would expect, where like you have to dodge gunfire, you have to like platform and jump from section to section and like grab onto zip lines and things like this. But all of this is taking place in a first person camera.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
It was nuts. I remember the first time I played that game, I was just like, this is the future of gaming. Every game is going to be like this. And there hadn't really been another game since it, until they released the sequel, which took like 7 years to make.
But that's okay. I feel like taking 7 years to make, it's
100%.
now its own IP again.
100%. This goes back to something that I actually was talking about to my wife the other day. We saw a trailer for a movie. I believe it's called Bullet Train. It has Brad Pitt in it and a bunch of other big names.
Yes.
But it's him on a bullet train, and they're like a lot of action sequences and fighting sequences. And I was glued to this trailer. It was like an ad before a YouTube video. I was glued to it. And she was just like, why were you so like infatuated with that? And I was like, because it's not a Marvel movie. Don't get me wrong, I love the Marvel movies. It's not a superhero movie. It's not like a Disney movie. It's its own thing. To my knowledge, it's its own unique thing. It's a brand new movie, and I was just like, I don't know this story. I can't go and read about this story somewhere. To my knowledge, I could be wrong. Someone could comment and reply and be like, this is a remake of a Japanese film from 1965. And this whole conversation that I'm having goes out the window. But it's that same thing can be applied to video games. When there are certain games that when they are unique and they are the first of their kind, whether it be from a graphics play style or a story concept, those are the games that are awesome. You think of games like Sable or Horizon, where they're similar to other games, but there's just elements about them that make them so unique that they stand alone.
That was a lot to take in, but yes. Agreed. Yeah, that was a lot.
I never go long-winded on this podcast.
No, you're not known for that. Anyway, I think we've reached our soft lock. We both pretty much agree on this topic, and we'll see what our next Mega Mark gives for us next week to debate over.
Wait.
But I think it's time right now for some gaming news. So right now, Britt Baker is wearing some Scott Hall tribute gear, while Thunder Rosa is wearing some 316 gear, and she hit a stunner on 316. So that's where we're at on Nitro. I just said on Nitro. On Dynamite.
No, Nitro.
Sorry.
Leave all of this in.
I saw the drips. I got a little confused.
I just want the 6-ball shirt.
Oh, new champ.
Wait.
New champ, baby.
Thunder Rosa?
Yeah. In her hometown. Love it.
Off the stunner?
No.
Oh. I was going to say, holy shit.
No, that's cool. Sorry, we digress. And it's not a spoiler because we are recording almost a week in advance. So,
yes.
Suck it. All right. Anyway, gaming news. We figured we would talk today about Madcat Studios' WrestleQuest, which is a wrestling RPG that's coming out in the summer of 2022. And it features everybody. Booker T, Jeff Jarrett, the Road Warriors, Sergeant Slaughter, Macho Man, Andre, Jake the Snake. Everyone's in this. Coco Beware, and they're essentially action figures.
Yeah,
in this game. So Bret Hart's in this game. I personally did not know this game was coming, and today it hit the ground running. It's the talk of the town. Everyone is already getting ready for it. It's going to be on Xbox, PS5, PS4, Switch, Steam. I'm ready. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm ready. Yeah, the box art or the cover art for this game alone, where you can see that the characters that you'll be playing in this game are action figures, I'm in.
I actually follow the Twitter account, so I did know it was coming. I just forgot. So there's that. You know what? This game is featured in the background in Retromania, so we probably we knew about this.
I feel like we had talked about it, or it had come up, and someone was like, I wonder what this is. And we were just like, it's probably just something that they made up for the game. And then we found the Twitter account, and they were like, they're just being really crafty about it.
Yeah, no, but it looks really cool, and I'm
all about it.
Yeah, well, another one that we get to look forward to playing live for everybody, and it should be a good time.
I love the wrestling video game world right now. Such a exciting place to be right now. Like,
yeah.
Awesome stuff.
All right, but releasing this week, Rune Factory 5 for the Switch on March 22nd, The Ascent for the PlayStation systems on March 24th. Also on March 24th, we have Expedition Zero for the PC, Lumo, The Master Moat Chronicles for the PC, PS4, Xbox, Switch, and Stadia. Haven't heard that in a while.
Wow.
Ghostwire Tokyo for the PC and the PS5 on the 25th, Kirby and the Forgotten Land for the Switch on March 25th, and Tiny Tina's Wonder World for the PC, PS5, Xbox Series S, PS4, and Xbox One on March 25th. So games are still coming out in droves. So
another Borderlands spin-off game in Tiny Tina's. I think this is going to be the first one that I tap out on.
Wow, okay.
The last Borderlands 3 just did not do it for me. It was an okay game, and that's just by the fourth or fifth game in the series, I expect a little bit more, and I'm sad.
You know what? That's okay. Sometimes they run their course, and you gotta just give up.
Yeah.
But all right, that's the gaming news. George, are you ready to talk about what we got coming up the next week?
Yeah, so youtube.com/GameMarksPodcast for all of our weekly playthroughs, videos, exclusive content, and more, including this and every other week's playthrough videos. We've got 3 seasons, 3 years worth of Clash at the Feast tournaments to go and watch. They're awesome. John's probably going to have some comments or make a face about them, but they're awesome. I had a lot of fun, and that's not gone. Clash at the Feast isn't done. It's going to be a segment. It's a segment in the playthroughs, changing it up a little bit. But John, why don't you take us through the Patreon schedule for this week?
All right, so Monday, you're getting the show ad-free on Patreon, video and audio. Tuesday, you're getting the show notes as well as GMP Game Over, Feel the Bang, where we play WCW Feel the Bang. Last week on Future Endeavor, George Feis played All Japan Pro Wrestling 1993, and I will be playing the same this week. This week, the first ever OMG, One More Game for Patreon subscribers, where we play one more game, which is not a wrestling game. So we'll see which realm we dive into. We got some suggestions from our Patreon subscribers, and we might have some surprises in there as well. Last Friday, I put out Clash and Burn. Georgie, you made your big debut for Cap TV as our play-by-play announcer. Now, a reminder, next week, March 20th.
Just completely blown over the fact that I'm doing commentary on Cap.
March 27th, you're doing commentary again for GMP 64 Presents Reloaded live on Twitch.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that. Very excited. The first pay-per-view of Season 2, man. I feel like the draft was yesterday, and as of recording this, I still have 2 move sets to make and a full Create a Wrestler slot unused.
I have a bunch, too. I'm taking my time with.
We're so screwed.
So screwed. We don't have to create them all at once.
No, that's true.
All right, but tell me what we are playing next week.
I am so excited for this one. Next week on the podcast, we are playing WWF SmackDown Shut Your Mouth.
You shut your mouth. I'm gonna butt in here quick because I screwed up. I wrote WWF. It's actually a WWE title.
Oh.
So I was wrong there. It's WWE Shut Your Mouth. SmackDown Shut Your Mouth. And this is the only one of the series that I never really owned and I never really put time into. So I'm excited to jump in because they're all just so good.
I'm so pumped for this game. I feel the same way about this game that I do about this series, the original SmackDown games, as I do about the AKI THQ games. Like, they just hold such a special place in my heart.
Well, this is the last one.
For like all of the weird reasons. Like, you don't look at these games, you're not like, the graphics on these games are great. Like, the graphics are terrible, but there's just something about these games that are just so fun. Love them. Very excited.
And I would
Cannot
be.
wait.
This is the last SmackDown game we have to play before the SmackDown vs. Raw series, and I wouldn't be mad if we did a deep dive just into the SmackDown games in the future. Just saying.
I do remember you saying that that was something you wanted to do, so I'm all for it. I say we do it.
All right, we got to get the Road Warriors done first. Hopefully, hopefully soon.
That's
all right.
Let's plan a day. We'll meet up and we'll do it.
Yeah,
like old times.
Take us home.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us this week in the Game of Spot. No, that's not how we end the show anymore. GameMarkspot.com/shop for all our merchandise. ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarkspot for all of our new shirt designs. And you know what? ProWrestlingTees.com. What is it? JClash21?
/Johnny Clash.
/Johnny Clash. Get all of his shirts. He just put out two of the greatest shirts. I love them. Those two new shirts that you just put out are probably some of my favorite designs. And I've got a lot of Johnny Clash shirts. And patreon.com/GameMarksPod for all of our exclusive content, like the show notes, exclusive shows, like the new greatest show, Wild's World. Love it. It's the bi-monthly show with friend of the show, TK Wild. What happened?
It's monthly.
It's monthly?
It's monthly.
I thought, oh shit. Well, it's the monthly show. I thought it was 2 a month. At Game Marks Pod on all forms of social media. Make sure that you smack that subscribe button. We need a smack sound effect. That's what I want. Smack that subscribe button and leave us a 5-star review.
This is the longest outro
Apple
ever.
Would you like me to start over?
Leave us a 5-star review on Apple.
No. The 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And if you have a product or service that you would like to advertise on this podcast, please reach out to us at GameMarksPod@gmail.com. It took me 3 weeks, but I finally got it, baby. Sorry that outro was so long. I got thrown off when I started plugging your own store because it's not in the script. But we're going to add it to the script, so we'll be better next time. John, do that thing. I don't know what side you're on. You're on one of those sides.
Game over. Marks.
Game Marks Podcast, put them on the radar. Playing rare games, Sega Saturn, no Game Shark. Johnny and George work hard and they play hard. Future endeavor games and put them in the graveyard. From the deep dive to the clash at the feast. How can I get more? That's question of the week. Follow on Twitch, there's nothing that they won't play. Game Marks Podcast every single Monday.